Welcome back to my Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke with no duplicate types allowed. In the last episode, another tally was added to the list of the Fallen, this time by the hands of a horn-drilling Goldeen. Despite the loss, we grew stronger with the additions of Demeter the Gastrodon, Hades the Houndoom, and Hera the Machoke. We obtained our 4th gym badge from Maylene and made it all the way to Pastoria City, where Crasher Wake is waiting for us. Let's do this. I took care of most of the grinding in between episodes, so we'd be ready for Crasher Wake right away. And while carving our path through the gym trainers, Hera transforms into her ultimate form. Starting out strong today. One last look at the team before we go into our next big fight. This lineup is looking pretty freaking awesome if I must say, but Zeus and Hephaestus are going to be our superstars for this one. Zeus's performance on Route 212 has me feeling very confident, and I don't think Wake stands a chance. We lead with our girl Zeus, and while I give Wake's Gyarados some credit for standing his ground, unlike the others, he's just simply not going to be dealing with this. Naturally, Quagsire enters the battle next, so I switch into Hephaestus in anticipation of Mudshot. If I forgot to mention it in a previous episode, our Hephaestus here comes with Levitate over Heatproof, which is actually very nice because we don't have to solely rely on Crobat for pivoting on incoming ground type attacks now. Quagsire is so slow that we actually get to go first. Thank you for the Grass Knot TM Gardenia, really helped us out there. And Floatzel is in last. And while Grass Knot could potentially get the job done again, not gonna lie, I didn't do any damage calculations for this one, I go for Hypnosis just to be extra safe. The first one does miss, but the second one connects, and it's back into Zeus we go to finish this battle. Even if Floatzel wakes up, the Intimidate should be helpful here. Floatzel does wake up on the following turn and hits us with a Brine. A cute little attack, but now it's our turn. Floatzel collapses beneath our thunderous strike, and we are awarded with the 5th badge of the run. Moving into the Galactic bomb sequence, it's time to have Hades track and chase down a useless grunt. You know, Barry seemed a little bit more serious when he broke the news of a potential terrorist attack occurring just outside of town, but then you head over there and he's just goofing around. Probably not a good time, dude. And we're off. I'd like to think that the Pokemon world has some sort of special canine unit that only uses fire-breathing hellhounds to help chase down bad guys. Nope, not today. There you are. Burn him down, Hades. Every time Barry walks up and asks if Cynthia is my sister, I'm never sure if I should feel offended or flattered. I do have blonde hair in real life, so I suppose it's not a bad assumption in my case. Let's head over to Celestic Town. While we clear out the Psyduck in our way, let's quickly go over the type chart in its current state. Only 3 types remain on the board: Ghost, Ice, and Rock. Ice and Ghost are still up in the air. It totally depends on what we receive on Route 216 when we get there. But as for Rock, our only options we have to choose from are Cranidos and Bonsly. Rampardos would certainly be a more offensive option, but also much more vulnerable and possibly more difficult to use as a result. On the other end, Sudowoodo can take hits better and has an interesting gimmick or two, but in the end, it's just another basic rock type. Both Pokemon would be nice to have against Cyrus though, especially in the later fights. I am happy with the way the team is currently constructed now though, so I think I'll wait on obtaining our rock type. As for the Foggier section of Route 210, the only new encounter added to this area is Swablu, which is only one of 2 Pokemon you can get to utilize the dragon typing on the board once it evolves. Unfortunately, Swablu itself is a normal type, which means you'll have to avoid both normal and flying types until you defeat Crasher Wake to pick this up. Not worth it in my opinion. I decided to keep Gaia in the box before we came here, just in case we needed to be at full strength against some of the tougher trainers here. And speaking of which, we did have that close call against the Ace trainers. And otherwise, we ended up using most of our team members on this route, actually. The variety was nice, and it really feels like we have an answer for everything. I do want the TM for Shadow Ball at some point, which is locked behind a smashable rock, so we'll have to come back after we clear out the route. And finally, I grabbed the berries at the end of the route as we entered Celestic Town. Hello, Grandma. Nice to see you again. Alright, let's go deal with Cyrus now. Should be a pretty simple fight this time around, although his Murkrow does have Drill Peck, so let's make note of that. Show us what you got, Cyrus. We opened things up with Hera, as I thought she would be less risky than using Hades in this situation. I don't need a potential crit from Slash to ruin our day. The incoming Ice Punch does take a fair chunk of our health away, but the Brick Break will take all of Sneasel's health away. Sounds like a good deal to me. Golbat comes out next, and since I'm expecting the Air Cutter, I switch into Zeus to take it from here. We go for Thunderbolt, but not before we get hit with Supersonic. Let's see if we can break through. Golbat falls and only Murkrow remains. We just have to avoid hitting ourselves in confusion. Zeus snaps out of it quickly, and the Thunderbolt connects. And the first Cyrus fight is complete. Cynthia's grandmother gives us the HM for Surf. Demeter appreciates that very much. And now it's time to cover our expanded tour of the Sinnoh region. Normally we hit up every single surf spot available to pick up all the juicy items that are now finally accessible, and this time isn't going to be that much different. Maybe a few less stops than normal, but otherwise, let's get to it. Our first stop is back in Pastoria City, where we find our mom's friend again in the Pokemon Center? Okay, maybe not our mom's friend, but it's the same model, which is confusing. This is literally the only other time I've ever seen this NPC aesthetic before. Anyway, we came here so that we can quickly surf over the Little Bay area and pick up the Mystic Water for Demeter. Next stop is Veilstone, where we'll look to head south to Route 214, where we can traverse the little pond right outside the entrance to the city and grab a rare candy. Moving over to Hearthome, we travel east to Route 209, and by flowing down this little stream, we can pick up the TM for Giga Drain. Not sure who's gonna use this other than maybe Crobat, but I literally don't have another grass type option outside of Bullet Seed sitting in our bags right now, so I just want to pick this up just in case. The next destination is Floroma Town. We pick up another free berry, pretty sure she gave us a Ross Berry last time, and we exit to the east to head towards the Valley Windworks. From here, we can grab the TM for Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt, which could be utilized by a potential future team member. And I know there's a max elixir around here somewhere? Ah, there we go. And now Demeter takes us upstream as we head towards Floroma Meadow and the Fuego Ironworks. The meadow is chock full of items as always. Hidden PP up, Miracle Seed, Rare Candy, etc. And now we've got the Ironworks. Definitely worth bringing up the encounter table for this one for anyone that is doing the run themselves. We've got a Magnemite, Magmar, and Gastrodon are all pretty neat highlights. Magnemite in particular would be a very popular and reasonable option as well. As long as you can avoid Shinx on Route 202, it's fairly easy to avoid other electric and steel types before you get here. Inside the Ironworks, we've got Spinny, 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 Spinny. The hidden star piece in this barrel is actually something I didn't know about until now. Or I just forgot, I guess. Very helpful as we reach Mr. Fuego himself and cash in all the pieces we've collected so far. This should give us enough shards to give Hera a new move to play around with. Speaking of new moves, let's go pick up a couple of them right now. I headed over to Veilstone City first to hit up the game corner because I completely forgot that Ice Beam was a thing. Demeter has probably just been sitting here this whole time like, what the hell, man? Which makes me feel like an ass because honestly, I haven't utilized Demeter all that much so far. I haven't had to. The other team members have just been so dominant. I think she'll get her chance soon enough though. Next, we head back to Pastoria for the second time this trip and travel out of the western side to Route 212. Over at the Move Tutor's house, we can finally give Hera another solid coverage option in Ice Punch. Whenever there's a fire slash ice slash electric option to choose from, like with the elemental punches or fangs, I feel like ice is almost always the correct option, at least most of the time. Ice Punch allows us to cover grass, flying, dragon, and ground, whereas the only real benefit you get from something like Thunder Punch is the ability to hit water types. Not a bad thing by any means, I just prefer to have the option to hit all of those other types instead. Our final stop before we head over to Candelave City are the water routes to the south. A very uneventful trip for the most part. Zeus had a good time at least. On Route 223 we picked up some berries and the TM for X-Scissor. Rest in peace, Artemis. Zeus had some more fun with Ace Trainer Jake, one of the more dangerous random trainers with his Staraptor and Girafarig, and I did try to fulfill Focus Sash Man's level requirements for a little bit, but after resetting several times, I wasn't really getting anywhere. It's just nice to have a Focus Sash on you at all times in case you need it for something, but in this case, we'll just have to remember to come back later if we do need it. And that concludes another classic surf tour of Sinnoh. Let's get over to Candelave. As we enter Route 218, we pick up a rare candy in the northeastern corner, and Zeus is here doing Zeus things. What can I say? Gyarados is her favorite meal. As for the encounter table, let me tell you guys something. We've got two of the best Pokemon you can possibly obtain in all of Platinum. I mean, you guys are going to want to avoid all other normal, flying, and psychic types to make room for either Chatot or Mr. Mime, which are obviously everyone's favorite Pokemon. Difficult decision, as you can only really choose one of them as well. Man, it's a shame we can't catch either one of them this run. Oh well, we must press on. Hi, it's me again. Still don't know what the hell to do with this thing, but thank you. After a quick heal, it's time for another rival fight. He's definitely gotten a lot better this time, so let's see how the team holds up. We choose Hephaestus as our lead this time, which you may find confusing, but there is a good reason for this. Barry's fully evolved Staraptor hits like a freaking truck. So much so that a crit from Takedown has a chance to kill Zeus on a range and possibly even Demeter. And of course, both of those Pokemon are slower, which doesn't help. Hephaestus here can easily two-shot Barry's bird while not having to worry about anything. Staraptor goes down, and Infernape joins the fight. I was originally going to switch into Demeter for this, but I think that actually could potentially put her at risk with a Brick Break follow-up. And I mean, come on, Hephaestus can easily take at least one Flame Wheel, right? See? I told you guys, nothing to worry about. Heracross enters the battle, and this attack could really be anything. Dionysus should be able to handle it though. The incoming Night Slash wasn't too bad at all, and in fact, even if we miss our next fly, I think a crit from a second Night Slash wouldn't even be enough to take us out anyway. Floatzel joins the party, and so we switch into Zeus. The Aqua Jet does nothing as we go for a Thunderbolt. The party is already over at Floatzel's house, and now we only have Roserade to deal with. You're up, Hades. Roserade plants some seeds, but it shouldn't matter all that much. Let's finish this, buddy. Another rival fight in the books. Great job, team. Barry suggests heading over to Iron Island to do some more training, and I think that's a good idea. Riley grants us the HM for strength upon our arrival. We'll just give that to Hera now. And we head inside to begin our training. Gravelers are pretty solid for grinding as far as wild Pokemon go, and Demeter had a pretty good run going against all the trainers as well. It didn't take us too long though to hover down to the next floor where we met up with Riley once again. I was up for some double battles today, so I opted into most of those as we traversed this next section. Demeter was surfing around a lot, not giving a crap about this poor Lucario. But hey, she's been looking for something to do for a while now, so I don't blame her for wanting to make the most of it. And apart from a few items here and there, I think we're ready for Iron Island's boss fight. This one is always a good one. Let's see how it goes this time. I went with Hera as our lead for this one, setting up a fairly neutral battlefield minus the Lopunny. The Lopunny is honestly one of the bigger threats anyway, as it is sporting Jump Kick, which Lucario is not a fan of for some reason. The anthropomorphic bunny strikes first, but decides to hit Hera instead, which I am totally on board for. Hera can actually take hits well, and I want this Lucario to live for once. Speaking of which, Riley's companion goes for Lopunny's throat right away, and lands a massive blow. And then Hera swoops in to finish it off. Quagsire sets up the Amnesia, which I'm not too concerned about. We've got plenty of physical presence to take it down at some point. Kirlia enters the battlefield, and I opted to keep Hera in here. But in hindsight, it probably wasn't the safest of plays. I'm pretty sure this Kirlia is packing Psychic, so it probably would have been better if I switched into somebody else at this point. Luckily, it doesn't matter, because Lucario's Metal Claw was enough to bring her down. Our Brick Break hits Quagsire for a large chunk, and then it responds with a Mud Bomb, removing half of Lucario's health. Medicham now joins the fight, and it's gonna kill Lucario this turn, guaranteed, because Hera is not going to be able to attack before it. Quagsire is removed at least, which will put us in an okay spot once we transition over to the 1v2. Staraptor comes in with the attack drop, and now we make our first switch. I had to think about this for a bit, but I ultimately decided that our best and safest chance was to send in Zeus first for the attack drop. I'm guessing the aerial ace will come out from Staraptor, which would not deal a whole lot to Zeus, so I'm thinking we only need to avoid one crit here as the worst possible case scenario. The attacks come out, and we are looking good. Dionysus is the next logical step here now that the attack drop is in. We resist Medicham's attacks and will be faster than both opponents on the following turn. The incoming attacks were taken well once again, and now Dionysus sets up the fly. And it connects with Medicham, bringing Ace Trainer Brenda's final Pokemon down. and we've managed to even the playing field once again. And we didn't have to worry about avoiding a crit from Staraptor either, as the takedown missed. Time to bring in the cleaning crew to bring this one home. Hephaestus is the perfect response to Ace Trainer Jonah's remaining Pokemon. Staraptor does go for the close combat, but even a crit wouldn't have done anything major, and the special defense drop gives Hephaestus the signal to kill. Hippopotas is all that remains, and since it can't use any of its ground type attacks, it's probably going to be stuck with nothing other than Takedown. Not that it mattered though, because Hephaestus clearly wanted to put an end to this battle in a hurry. Well done, guys. With the Galactic runs pushed out of the way, we bid Riley a friendly farewell, head out of the cave, and sail back to Canalave. Heading into the gym, I had Hades torch just about everything in here so that we can get them all capped up for the fight ahead. Not that we necessarily needed the extra levels for our Dex challenge, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Byron is up next. Let's get that next badge. Hades is leading the way for this one. Let's see if this flamethrower turns Magneton into a pile of ash. One down, 2 to go. Steelix is in next, and we switch into Dionysus in anticipation of Earthquake. The pivot works beautifully as we move into Demeter to take the following attack. The Ice Fang deals minimal damage, and now it surfs up in Canalave. And as Steelix drowns in Demeter's wake, Byron's ace joins the fight. Bastiodon's Metal Burst does absolutely nothing on our next switch, and Hera proceeds to crack all 4 of her knuckles in preparation for what might go down as the nastiest brick break of all time. Byron is finished, and badge number 6 has been added to our collection. After the fight ended, we ran into Barry again and headed over to Canalave Library to push through the next major story plot. The infamous second bomb explodes, everyone is kinda chill about it for some reason, and we are on our way. Before we deal with that though, I'd like to pick up our next encounter, which will involve the Underground. Cranidos will be our target. Rourke is there to meet us upon our first trip to the Underground, and I'm a little concerned that he may have been down here this whole time just waiting for me, and I just never came. I also want to point out that it is a little ironic that we're finally going for our rock type of the run, but it's actually the fossil that we weren't originally going for. I also just learned that the fossil you are going to obtain in-game is totally dependent on your trainer ID, and you can't just simply get both in the same save file, and since our trainer ID is odd, we can only obtain Cranidos anyway, so it's a good thing I didn't try to spend hours of my life trying to find the armor fossil earlier in the run. Shockingly, I was able to find the skull fossil on our 4th mining attempt. Like I've said before, the last time I was down here was probably 15 years ago, so I have nothing to compare this quick finding to, but apparently this hunt can take several hours in some cases. So yeah, I guess I'm pretty freaking lucky. After throwing the fossil and the green shard we also managed to find into our bags, we headed up to the surface and flew over to Orbrick City. We handed our fossil over to the scientist in the museum, and what a dick that guy is, by the way. He's just like, alright, I got the fossil, now get the hell out of my sight. Like, alright man, geez, chill. We then proceed to leave the building, come back in immediately, and this dude has the balls to tell us that we've been gone for too long. Here's your stupid Cranidos, don't F this up. But I won't let him sour the moment between us and our newest team member. It's nice to meet you, Hermes. gentle nature, and likes to take a lot of naps. Not exactly what I expected from a Pokemon with 165 base attack, but we'll give him a shot. A bit of training on Route 214 to try to catch our new buddy somewhat up to speed, and soon enough, he'll be ready to start smashing some heads. And with that, this episode is now over. Finally, an episode without losing someone. And the team is looking very strong as well as we head into the later stages of the game. In the next one, we'll remove our final 2 typings from the board, take on Candace for our 7th badge, and if all goes well, scale Mount Coronet and dive into the depths of the Distortion world. In the meantime, as usual, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content like this. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.